Hey guys, Sid from Sid's Trains here, and welcome to O-Scale Layout Update number 6. So it's been a while since I've done a layout update, several months in fact, and I've been doing lots of work on the layout, on trains, and then my life's been really busy, so I haven't really made one of these in a long while. Instead, I was making videos on engines and other things I've acquired over the several months. And it's also a new year, and in this new year, I hope to get a lot more done on the layout, as always. And I also hope to get some really big things done, not just some of the smaller things that I've been doing recently. We're going to be taking a look at everything I've done since the last layout update, and also taking a look at some items that I haven't shown in videos or just you saw in the background. I did buy some things right after Christmas and before the New Year's and after the New Year. So we're going to be taking a look at all that in this video and seeing what I've done on the layout. So before we take a look at the layout, I want to talk about something that I've always thought about when building layouts. There's phases of building layouts. There's bench work, there's scenery, there's wiring, there's track, there's little detail work, tons of things. And then of course accessories, signals, buildings, lighting, all these different things. And you do those in phases, and there's also phases per chunk of the layout. Not every layout is the same. Mine has a town scene, or is going to have a town scene. It has the yard scene behind me. It has the main lines, and then there's little scenes all throughout the layout. Some layouts are just one town with a couple loops around it. They're all different. And because of that, some scenes get finished before others, some are more detailed than others, and you work on them in different ways. I'm at a point where the table and everything like that is done. The table is in place. The homosote is on top of the table, and there's nothing really left to do with that other than scenic the top surface. However, there are scenes where there needs to be more fabrication done, like the area where the turntable is going to go. There's a lot of holes to be cut there, fabrication of the turntable, and stuff like that. There's also where our building's going to go. Are there bases the building's going to go on? Or can I just put scenery down immediately? You might be able to see right here, there's some scenery down. And that's because this area was able to just have scenery put down, and there's no really issues with that. There's no fabrication needed. There's also no wiring needed in that area. But I have some sidings on the layout, and those sidings sometimes need wiring for switches and things like that. So I don't scenic that area until the wiring is put in place. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second, because you might be wondering why some areas look more detailed or kind of set up than others, and that's why. There's phases to building a layout, and some phases on my layout have been completed, some have not, and that's why areas look different throughout my layout. So starting at the front of the layout, I've put some scenery down around my double crossover. I did this scenery in layers, starting from the bottom and moving up with different layers of ground foam, and then of course installed the ballast. This is Brennan's Better Ballast. I really like the way it looks with the Fast Track. Fast Track is really hard to match ballast to, and nothing will ever be perfect. But I like this ballast with the cinders mixed in with it, and the overall look of it. In this scene, I installed a couple trees. I bought this pack of figures just to put here for now, and I also bought this pack that has some various trackside buildings or boxes. Like here's one, there's two over in those little triangles in between the crossover, and then there's some others scattered around the layout. And I was basically just experimenting with this area. I hadn't done scenery in a very long time, and I wanted to make sure I could do it the way I wanted, and so far I really like the way this looks. There's lots of layers for the grass. The ballast is just right up against the bottom of the ballast on the Fast Track, and overall I think it looks really nice. Is it perfect? No, nothing's ever perfect, but I really like the way it looks, and I plan to continue this scenery all throughout the rest of the layout as I go along. I have not ballasted or done any other scenery over there because there is some plaster cloth in the way and I need to go buy some paint to continue painting this tan color on the surface of the plaster cloth. Next to the inside track, I installed my water column here. Under it, I put a piece of Woodland Scenic's roadbed and I just glued it down, and then the water column just sits here, and I aligned it so that when it is swung over, it hangs right over the center of the track and will hang right over the tender of an engine. I won't really ever use this because it is just there for the seam, maybe for some pictures, but I'm never really going to be swinging it over like this for anything other than shots with a camera or anything like that. And you can also see the little box here and those figures I was talking about before. I really like the way this looks. I moved my water tower that was behind or on the other side of the layout in one of the corners because I didn't like where it was, and I decided this would be a good spot right outside my station platform here for a water column. In my last layout update, I showed you guys a Atlas station kit that I had bought to install and build for my station, and this is just the platform for it. I have it just sitting here so that I know where it's going to be and so that I can coordinate and plan scenery around this station. I obviously will be building and painting the kit soon, and I will definitely do a video on that. Taking a look at something other than scenery, here we have two of the switches for my double crossover, and as you can see, the lanterns are illuminated, and that's because I have hooked them up to a separate power supply. All the switches on my layout are going to be powered separately from the track. That's so that they don't draw any current and power from the trains themselves, and instead can just be thrown using their own power. You can also see that I have one of my Pennsylvania signals hooked up. It is hooked up to the outside rail on the curve to the right of it, and when a train goes through that block, the signal changes and that little tiny lantern below the signal head also turns on, and when the train moves out of the block, it goes to basically what will be yellow and then back to this vertical position, which is green. I've also done the same thing to the other signal on the other side of my double crossover using the same method. I used Z-Stuff relays for this, just their basic relay. I hooked it up to the outside rail and hooked the power up to it, and it works almost flawlessly. I could install something to get rid of the flicker I have periodically, but I rarely have any flickering, and it only flickers when I have a train running extremely slow through it, and possibly that train also has dirty wheels, and that will cause that flickering. But for the most part, I do not have any kind of flickering with the signal, and it works flawlessly. So moving over to the center of the layout, you see this Menard's American Materials Plant number 2. And I got this for my birthday back in December, and I've been wanting it since I have the other American Materials Plant building, that kind of grain elevator. And I've hooked it up, and when I turn a switch on, after a couple seconds, the building will turn on. As you can see, it has some nice LEDs on top, on the side, and also it has that sign that makes it look like the flag is waving, which is really cool. You might be able to hear this kind of high-pitched whine. That's just what Menard's buildings do, and I just have to live with that. It's not really that annoying, and I've gotten pretty much used to it over the many months I've had these Menard's buildings. I really like the way this one looks, and it looks awesome in night scenes when the lights are dimmed and trains are running by. Really makes this scene look really nice and stand out from some other scenes on the layout. Moving over to the spur on the other side of the layout, here you can see an MTH cantilever signal that I installed. I had bought this a really long time ago and never had a really good use for it. And I also had bought the second set of heads so that there can be a head on each side of the signal. And I decided, since this is a 2-track siding yard over here, and I have this set of switches here, it would look nice putting it right here. And then I'm just going to hook it up to a toggle switch so I can decide which signal is green and which one is red. and not have it go on and off each time a train goes by. And I think that'll work really well. Next to it is a Menard's building flat. My dad got this for my birthday as well. It's a warehouse looking building, and it has a lighted sign that you can change the actual sign on. I currently have a Railway Express agency sign on it, and then it has some LEDs that shine down onto that loading dock as well. I plan to do some scenery around this and make it look like it's an actual building, not just a flat against a blue wall. And I think it looks really nice, but I do have to get a power supply for it since I've used my power supply that I already have for the other 3 Menards buildings on my layout. Moving over from there, on this curve here I installed 2 crossing flashers from Right of Way Industries. These are going to be my crossing signals for this for the road that goes across these 2 tracks here. I thought they would look better than crossing gates or the tall crossing flashers because I don't really want any obstructions on this curve. I want to be able to see the trains going by, and I really like the look of them. I haven't hooked them up yet. They will just be hooked up to a outside rail so that when the train goes by they turn on, and when the train leaves the block they turn back off. And I think that'll be really nice. I'll also have a kill switch on them so that they don't always flash. My layout being so small, trains can go around it fairly quickly, and I don't want these flashing every single time the train goes around. So I'll probably mainly use them for videos or when I'm running command controlled trains that don't run as fast and I can actually control the speed on them. Taking a look at this scene here, the town for the most part has stayed the same. However, at York, I got this building that is behind these 2 buildings here. It's this tall brick building. It looks really nice, and it kind of fills in the back area. I do think I'm going to replace all these buildings here with some Woodland Scenics buildings since they look a lot nicer and are actually buildings, not just these flats on the front of boxes. I've also moved this house that was originally behind that truck over there to right here. I think I'm going to make it look like a business that was originally a house and has now been turned into a business, and then have some kind of park right next to it here. So far I'm liking how the town is going to turn out with the new buildings and just the roads being installed. I think it will look very nice, and I really like having the American flag there as kind of the center point of the town. I do plan on probably replacing, like I said, with Woodland Scenics buildings, but I think I'll keep the town buildings on this side over here. But then over here, I'm going to probably use something like a gas station or something like that, or a service center, like there is in my town, in my hometown here in Maryland, because I feel it would look a lot better and not just look like a row of buildings. Now you guys have seen this signal bridge in a lot of my videos with the trains going under them, but I can't quite remember if in the last update I showed much of this. I installed it here, I drilled the holes for the wires, and I notched out that foam riser in the back so it could sit there. I really like the way it looks, and just like the other signals, I'll be using a relay and an outside rail to change the signal heads. I also bought the extra signal heads so that I would have a total of 4 on top instead of the original 2 that it came with. Alongside that tall brick building that I showed over in the town scene, I also got this building at York. It's again just a brick warehouse. I believe I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to build a concrete base for it so it looks like it was meant to be there. I'll of course add scenery around it, and I'm going to illuminate the interior with some LEDs so that it looks like it's in use and not just abandoned next to the track. I'm also going to probably add a parking lot over there where that truck is, and next to that is a little Woodland Scenics building that I got from a collection. And overall I'm liking how this yard area is becoming very industrial, and I'll be filling it in with more details as I go along. So over here I've moved my water tower. I really like this old Lionel water tower because it has that blue water effect on the inside. I think I'm just going to keep it here on my reverse loop because it's kind of interesting and trains could back onto the reverse loop and fill up with water. It's in between the reverse loop and the lead track from where my turntable is going to be, and it fits really nice there. So for the moment, I'm going to be keeping it there. I could change what kind of water tower it is, but for the moment, I like it and looks pretty good where it is right now. So right here, I've also moved my defect detector. Initially on the layout and the track plan, this was over behind this grain elevator or coal elevator, but I've since moved it here. I also have installed this right-of-way industry signal, and like the other signals, I'll probably use an insulated rail and a relay to activate it, or I could use just a toggle switch or possibly one of those MTH iTads. I don't know, but I'll probably just stick to using the insulated rail. So this right here is a pretty familiar scene on my layout. In my videos, I like shooting from this angle or over here, shooting this way, because it's cool seeing all the engines sitting here and trains going by in the background. And since the last layout update, I believe I've added 2 or 3 extra whisker tracks to this area. My dad and I the other day were actually discussing the turntable some more, and we think we have a good plan on what we're going to do. It's going to be more simplified than what we thought we had to do initially. We're not going to do any kind of temporary turntable like I said in the last video. We're just going to be cutting out the hole and then building the turntable that will be inserted from underneath. Just to make it easier, just go right in, make it work, and I think it'll look really nice. I also hope to keep this many whisker tracks, if not, maybe take away 1 or 2. But I really like the way this looks. And if I turn the camera here, over here is some more work that I've done. Sitting right here is my SD40 and my Commodore Vanderbilt. And they're both sitting on Atlas track. And it might be hard to see, but over there on the lead track, it's fast track. But right where the tender is for the Commodore Vanderbilt is a transition piece where it goes from fast track to Atlas track. And I wanted to do that because all the whisker tracks are going to be Atlas track and the turntable bridge is going to be Atlas track. So I'd much rather have the lead track be that as well. So there's no issues with any kind of connections or lining up. And these 2 pieces of Atlas track are sitting on top of Woodland Scenic's roadbed. It's a foam roadbed. I've had it for years, never had a use for it, but now I do. And that track is screwed down kind of temporarily, but this is just sitting here. There's no screws in it and nothing like that. It's just sitting there right now. But in the future, I do plan to have a whisker track here, maybe a little longer with a bumper at the back for smaller engines like this SD40 or switchers or stuff like that. So I'm holding the camera now because I'm going to be doing some panning shots of this area. So along this foam riser, I've installed plaster cloth over it to kind of create this banked hill down to the lower surface of the table. And I really like the way this looks. I still need to paint it with this tan paint that I've used on the table. But as it goes up, it gets a little more steep. And I've kept it fairly thin because I don't want it to be super thick and just have a lot of weight to it. And once I get to here, I'm going to start the transition into pink foam. I haven't bought the pink foam yet, but that's the plan. But all the way up, I have put plaster cloth on top to create a smoother surface instead of just this kind of blocky foam. And for the most part, it looks really good. I have the track screwed down, and I'm really liking the way this is looking. And I really hope to soon go buy some pink foam so I can build the mountains here and over there. Something you might see is some of this road bed I've put under, but it's only on this side. If you look on this side, there's no road bed. And that's because I've banked this turn and this curve. I did that because I really like super elevation and having a bit of a bank as trains come around this turn. And it's very simple. I just put little strips of it underneath each of these edges on these curves, and I used little shims as I transition over here. You can see one of the shims, and right there you can see one of the shims. And I do that so that there's a smooth transition. There's no kind of tilting back and forth or any thing like that. And even my S1 duplex and big boy can transition this, so that's really nice. No issues with it. And as trains come down this curve, they're just leaning inward just enough to create this really cool look. It might be hard to see, but that Blue Comet car there is leaning inward, which is really cool to see. I notice it more with freight cars coming around these turns, that they're kind of leaning this way. But overall, I'm really liking the way this looks. And I also attached the foam risers to the table. In the last video, I believe they were held down with some little pins. I used hot glue because that's what they said to use on the box, and this stuff isn't going anywhere. It really held down to the table nicely, and with the way the track and engines, it's not going anywhere. And just doing a panning shot here, I'll just show the rest of the foam risers. All of those do not have any plaster cloth on top yet, but they are glued down and they look really nice, that they aren't just all kind of randomly placed like they were before on the layout. I believe I had mentioned it in my last layout update, but I did get this Lionel yard tower. I really like the way it looks, and I think I'm going to keep it over here next to the turntable for now. And then all the way in the back next to the Crusader, it might be hard to see, but there's another one of those Pensy signals. And I installed that there because I do plan on having a mountain right about there. And as the train comes out, I'd like to have a signal. So moving on to some items I've gotten over the past couple months that I haven't shown on the channel directly. Starting out here, we have this full MTH Protosound 1 Blue Comet set. I bought this when I was with RJ and Chris at Toy Trains and Collectibles in Manassas, Virginia. I will be doing a video on this engine, and I cannot advocate for Toy Trains and Collectibles enough. Amazing store, tons of great products. They have lots of brand new items coming in, lots of good used stuff, amazing prices, and very nice people. Our buddy Evan there hooked us up with all the stuff we bought, and we will definitely be going back again because it is such a nice store, and I can't believe I got this set. It's a very gorgeous set. The Blue Comet's so iconic with the old Lionel pre-war set. There's the MPC set, there's the Lionel set. But then there's this version. This is probably one of the most accurate versions. Of course, there's the newer Protosound 2 and 3 versions, but in general, I think the MTH Blue Comet is a very good representation of the real train, and I just love it. All this chrome, the amazing blue color, and I have all 7 passenger cars for the set, which is just amazing. It's a very cool set to see going down the rails, and you will be seeing it run at the end of this video. Up next, I have this Lionel Pratt Hollow Phantom set. This was the first ever Lionel Phantom. If you don't know what the Phantom is, it's this complete fantasy train that Lionel came up with. For all you rivet counters, don't be alarmed. This is not real. This isn't supposed to be super detailed. It is not real. It is all fantasy. This is just for fun. That's why I bought it. As a kid, I would see it in these old videos that these old Lionel videos, and it is not real in any way. I want to emphasize that because some people will probably think that it's real and that this existed in real life, and they're going to look it up and then not find anything. I want to emphasize this is not real at all. However, it is still a very cool model. If you look at it, it has this cool streamlined, sleek look. It was kind of based on old cars and streamlining and stuff like that. The sounds are fantastic. I will be running it later in this video. And I'll also be doing a video on it because it is such a unique set and something that isn't showcased on YouTube very often. Definitely a set that Lionel decided to get creative with. And they over the years, they've made, I believe, 5 Phantoms. They made 4 original sets, including this original first run in this gunmetal color. They made a silver one, they made a green one, they made a red one, and then more recently they made a Batman Lion Chief version. So the Phantom has existed in the Lionel line for a pretty long time now, but not very many people talk about it, and I definitely want to do a video because it is so unique. The sound like an alien, and the horn is really powerful and deep. So I'll definitely be doing a video on it, and I'm very happy I was able to find the engine and the 4 cars for the set. Usually you just find the engine, but I was able to find the engine and all 4 cars for it. Up next, we have a very cool and interesting engine. This is my Lionel Commodore Vanderbilt. This was my original one. However, if you've watched my video on my Commodore Vanderbilt that I did about a year or 2 ago, I reviewed it, and I also said that I had 2 of them. Well, this was my original one. It originally was the silver Commodore Vanderbilt from 1996. However, over the years, some things happened to it and the paint got messed up. So I decided, why not I make the most accurate version of the Commodore Vanderbilt? Lionel never really made an accurate version. They had attempts at making a better version of it, but they never really got it right. So combining my electrical skills and skills with upgrading trains with my buddy Pat, who can do amazing fabrication and paint work, he and I created this. This is the Lionel Legacy, quote-unquote, Commodore Vanderbilt. This is a Commodore Vanderbilt from 1996, painted in the correct gunmetal dark gray color. It's not black, it's also not silver, it's in the middle. It also is kind of metallic-y with a bit of metal flake in it. Then there's the silver striping, and he applied amazing lettering as well. He told me that this is the actual color from DuPont, who painted the Commodore Vanderbilt in real life. So I trust him. I'm no expert on New York Central stuff, so I really trust him that this is the real color. There really is no way to tell via photos, so using the color code from DuPont is the best way, and this was that color code. It's a really nice color, really stands out from the silver version, and I just love the way this engine looks. On the inside, it has Lionel Legacy. He installed the smoke unit and detailed the cab interior so it would look nice when I installed the cab light and the firebox glow, and then I installed all the electronics. He also, I forgot to mention, installed a DC cam motor, a nice big Pitman motor, instead of the old AC Pulmar, and now it just runs really nice and smooth. I'm still working out some kinks in it with the pulling power and some fine detailing underneath. But overall, it's a gorgeous model, and I will be doing a video on it in the future. Up next, I have this Lionel corporate tinplate freight set in the Pennsylvania Railroad paint scheme. I bought this while on a trip to Tennessee right before Christmas. I had posted about it on Instagram, but I haven't really shown it much on the channel other than my Christmas videos. It was running under my Christmas tree. It has Protosound 2 in it, and it's a very gorgeous set. All the nice copper and nickel detailing. It's really cool. The shiny look on all the cars is amazing. I will definitely be doing a video on it because it's just different. It's not scale. It's just all about fun. And of course, it's completely different because it's tinplate instead of being die-cast. If you're wondering what Lionel corporate tinplate means, that means it's a MTH product with the so-called Lionel name on it. This one does not have the Lionel name on it because it's in the Pennsylvania Railroad paint scheme. However, usually a Lionel corporate tinplate set would have a Lionel logo here on the tender and on some of the cars like that, because the original Lionel tinplate models looked just like this. They had the logos on them, but MTH took the liberty of making some of the sets in certain road names like the Pennsylvania Railroad, which is really neat. I really like this set, and it definitely looks good under the Christmas tree, and that's kind of why I bought it. I wanted another engine for under the Christmas tree. However, I still will be running this on the layout because it is such a neat set. And in the video, I'll be talking more about it and what it really means. So that about wraps up this layout update. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I've made some decent progress on the layout. I hope to do a lot more over in the yard area around the turntable soon and get some more scenery on the layout, because as more scenery goes down, it looks a lot better for videos and all the trains running by. I really would like for the layout to look a little more complete. The layout is never complete, but just having some basic scenery down definitely makes the layout look a lot better, and in general better for videos, because all you've seen for months now is trains running on what looks like a desert. But with this grass and trees here, it looks a lot better, so I hope to do more of that in the near future. So As always, like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Comment below and tell us about the channel. I'm Sid, and I'll see you next time, guys.